Howdy, my name is Rabbitoonthemoon. In this series, Top 5 Bottom 5, I list my top 5 favorite and least favorite things in classic theme park attractions. In this episode, the first episode, I will be covering Monsters Unchained, the Frankenstein experiment. This one was both extremely hard and extremely fun. I love Monsters Unchained, but listing out the flaws of it was a little eye-opening, but of course, these are my opinions, and if you disagree, that's completely fine. Just don't yell at me. If you yell at me, I just want you to know that this is who is on the other side of the screen. With that in mind, why don't we start with my first favorite thing about this attraction? One of my favorite aspects of any attraction is the Easter eggs within the ride. To me, Easter eggs show a lot of research and passion went into an attraction, and Monsters Unchained has plenty of them. Hopefully one day I'll make an entire video on the Easter eggs in Monsters Unchained, but for right now I'll go ahead and give you a quick rundown of some of my favorites, so you can impress your friends. Or bore them. Either way, what bliss. So, starting off in the queue, we have Dracula's coffin, which is filled with dirt. But this isn't any old dirt. It's special dirt. The dirt in Dracula's coffin is actually a reference to the original Bram Stoker novel, where the root of Dracula's... the root of Dracula's Okay, so I ain't reading that, but basically Dracula needs dirt from his homeland in order to maintain his beauty sleep, apparently, which is why we can see it here in the queue. Another Easter egg is found in the pre-show. There's a table that's suspended over guests, and if this looks familiar, then you know ball, because this is a recreation of Victor Frankenstein's original table he used to bring the monster to life. Okay, so the third reference is in the ride itself, and if you're a Halloween Horror Nights fan, then you probably already know about this one. But in the scene just before you see Gilman, oh my god, I don't think that's his name. It's okay. You'll see a couple of statues tangled up in the vines. These are actually the Halloween Horror Nights icons, Eddie, Bone, Jack, and Chance. Pretty neat, right? Okay. This one is honestly at the bottom because it's more of a nitpick than an actual grievance, and that is the theming in the outdoor queue and the accessibility queue. Although there is nothing outright wrong with these queues, the theming is, still there. Like, my main issue is just, what could have been. Look at the original concept art for the outdoor/extended queue, and now look at what we got. See, this is what happens when you don't budget properly. Not just, terrible shading, but also a robbery. We were robbed of, a cool gothic garden maze, for switchbacks? The audacity. Okay, so before I get into that, I do want to briefly touch on my opinions of the accessibility queue. I hold the belief that an accessibility queue should be just as cool or as interesting as the main queue. Personally, I have never gone through the accessibility queue for this ride, but in this Reddit thread, a disabled guest described the queue as basically a hallway with an elevator, sort of similar to Ministry of Magic, which is expected, and I'm glad it still kept its theming, which is more than Disney is doing, but obviously still a little disappointing. My point is, if you're a disabled guest and this is your first time riding the ride, there is so much cool stuff in that queue that you will miss. That is why I wish accessibility queues had just as much intrigue as the main queues, so that disabled guests got something that felt exclusive rather than excluding. As for the outdoor queue, as I was saying, we were robbed. But, to be honest, the effort for designing a better outdoor queue would kind of go to waste because it's never used. Yes, I'm glad they focused more on the interior. However, I do mourn the Instagram photos I could have taken with that outdoor garden queue. If it's your first time at Epic Universe, the first thing you're going to learn is that Super Nintendo World is actually the best during the night because it's way less crowded and hot. The second most important thing that you're going to learn is that Monsters Unchained always has wait times that are shockingly low. Its average wait time is around 21 minutes, with its highest wait time ever being around 180, which is like 3 hours. The truth of the matter is that Monsters Unchained isn't unpopular. In fact, most theme park fans would say the opposite. The animatronics, special effects, and the ambiance of the attraction put Monsters Unchained in the top 3 for most. No, this attraction's wait time is so low for 2 reasons. First, Monsters Unchained loading system is constantly moving forward, and second, there are tons of empty ride vehicles entering that loading bay. This basically means that guests are always exiting and entering the vehicle with no waits in between. Compare that to a ride like Ministry of Magic, which has to stop for minutes to allow old guests to leave, new guests to enter, check their restraints, and then send them off. Monsters doesn't take that long to do all those steps in just seconds. Truly, this ride is the most bang for your buck. You get really short wait times for a really great ride. Okay, so I know I'm probably going to get some heat on this one, but I need you guys to hear me out. I have no issue with the pre-show itself. It's just like one aspect of the pre-show. It's with Igor. I do not like that he is CGI. His expressions look like overly exaggerated, his movements feel like Uncanny Valley, and he does not look like a real person. And it's a shame, because, like, imagine if this was a live actor. Now, here's the thing. They did the same thing with Victoria in B-Mode of the second pre-show. I can understand why Universal might have gone this route. Like, if they casted a specific actor for Igor and Victoria, it would be harder to cast walk-around characters in the park. But I kind of see that as a lame excuse, because really, who is paying that close attention to the casting of characters in theme parks? Well, other than, like, those kind of fans. My point is, I see the live-action found footage section just before this pre-show. Will you stop touching me? Sorry. I'm recording in a closet. Okay. My point is that I see this live action found footage section just before this pre-show, and I think, damn, they did such a good job with that. Giving Igor and Victoria an actor would give this ride a more grounded realism to it, just as the found footage did. But with the animation, I just don't feel as immersed? I just don't take it as seriously. If they ever make this change, which they probably won't because literally no one other than me cares, but if they do, I hope they keep the voice acting though. Like, Igor and Victoria's voice actors were so spot on. Genuinely, the most inspiring aspect of this attraction, and Darkmoor in general, is the gothic theming. If I'm not mistaken, this is truly the first, gothic theme park. Yes, even more gothic than Haunted Mansion, especially facade-wise. The exterior, interior, loading bay, and ride itself is fully themed to this gothic, grungy aesthetic, and I'm living for it. Question mark. Why did I put question mark? Oh. The interior decor has to be one of my favorite parts of Monsters because it actually upholds a logical layout of the attraction as if we were actually in a mansion. Of course that would be my favorite part. Okay, but genuinely, the interior of Monsters Unchained tells an amazing story where guests start out in this pristine entrance. Well, I don't know about pristine. Guests start out in this pristine entrance that slowly becomes more and more cluttered with blueprints, wires, documents, anatomical parts / studies, and lab equipment. As guests venture further into the building, they enter this amazingly themed loading area, which is inspired by the inside of water / windmills, I believe. From here, you are pulled down even further into the mansion's catacombs, in which you finally end up in Victoria's lair, Ooh. Dude, I'm so funny. And the exterior of Frankenstein Manor is no joke either. Inspired by Chateau Miranda, the landscaping is the perfect amount of polished and decrepit. The use of forced perspective is genuinely one of the best examples I have ever seen in a theme park, creating a grand entrance that sort of looms over guests as they near. And like, bro, don't even get me started on the way this attraction looks at night. It is genuinely one of the best views in the entire park. Okay, so screen faces have generally always been unfavored by the theme park community, and their unfavorability sort of speaks for itself. The weird glow of their skin, the unnatural movement synced with their screen, and their expressions being kind of stretched out. Universal was aware of these problems and tried to create an animatronic with those issues in mind. Universal made internal projectors to reduce the glow, and a moving jaw so the animated footage would sync better with the character, creating this new technology basically trying to solve this problem. But alas, the screen face leaves its mark. Arguably more noticeable because she's standing next to one of the most advanced animatronics in the entire ride. They really did my girl dirty. And there's no amount of new technology that can fix that. Sorry! Theme parks have been missing original characters and stories that are not based off of pre-existing media for a very long time. And they still are. But Monsters Unchained has a very interesting take on the classic Universal monster movies that makes it feel like an original ride. With 2 new characters, character redesigns, and a new original storyline, this ride truly does feel unique to this park. The addition of Victoria and Igor feels like a fresh coat of paint on the Universal monster movie franchise. Their dynamic works really well together, creating 2 new characters that really leave an impact on parkgoers. Everyone's favorite is mostly Igor, with his more goofy yet slightly menacing disposition. Personally, I prefer Victoria. Even with our limited time with her, through context clues, we understand that she's very haunted by her past, and is willing to go to morally questionable lengths to achieve her dream of fixing her family's past. You know, God forbid women have hobbies. Universal including an original storyline/concept is really feeding us theme park fans. Original concepts help theme parks feel unique, as if there is something there that you can't find anywhere else. Monsters Unchained, the Frankenstein experiment, delivers. All in all, I'm surprisingly really glad that Universal didn't make this ride's lead, Victor Frankenstein, with a more basic story centered around him. I will always choose the addition of 2 new original characters, plus a spruced up story, over a movie I could just watch at home. I feel like recently, companies like Disney and Universal have become increasingly comfortable with their attractions being in B mode. Before, this would get you something like a FastPass ticket, but now it's so common, it's customary. Which is unfair, especially in comparison to the pricing of their parks. To this day, I still have not been on Monsters Unchained with all the animatronics working. I have gone on Monsters Unchained 10 times. I know people who have gone on it 26 times, and neither of us have been on it with all the animatronics working. This is a major issue, especially because some of the Monsters Unchained animatronics don't even have a B mode. They just malfunction with zero sophistication or refinement. I understand this amount of animatronics requires a lot of maintenance, but don't build animatronics that frequently break down without having a B mode. And also, don't make the B mode customary. Like, you poured so much of your budget into these robots and they look great, but my god, they better work. I will be honest, I did not have to think that long about what the worst aspect of Monsters Unchained would be. Like, I feel like a lot of the issues that I brought up were more of nitpicks, not things that I would actually change, especially with the animatronics. I would never change that. But this issue genuinely pisses me off so much because it is so easy to fix without ruining the integrity of the ride. And that is the weak staging. So, in case you don't know, staging is basically how a piece of media is presented to the audience. It's controlling what you want the guest to see, so like the story, the characters, and like the environment, and what you don't want the guest to see, so wires, scaffolding, catwalks, lights, etc. An example of this in theme parks would be animatronics, right? In order to make Igor feel like a character rather than a robot, they hide his wires. You wouldn't take Igor as seriously if his little animatronic guts were out. So yeah, that's staging. And in some aspects, Universal is really great at staging, especially in rides like Harry Potter and the Forbidden Journey. The lighting guides you through the ride, anything you're not supposed to see is hidden, there's no sensory overload, or like an abundance of unnecessary things, the scene is well lit and comprehensive. Monsters Unchained really struggles with this. Multiple times throughout the ride, you can see lighting fixtures, scaffolding, catwalks, wires, very poor usage of flats and pipe and drape, like elementary usage. And here's the thing, these things are inevitable to see in some rides. Even Harry Potter and the Forbidden Journey has them, but they aren't right in front of your face. Here's the thing, the main proponent for these exposure issues isn't even the poor placement of objects. No, it's something that is fixable. Like, here's an example, and I want you to genuinely try to figure out what the staging issue is. Did you see that? No? Let's continue watching this clip and see if you see the issue again. It's the lighting. The lighting is my biggest issue with this ride. This scene would have been fine if the light of God had not been stricken on every facet of the set. A lot of the amazingly crafted scenes in this ride are soiled because lighting fixtures are placed and used improperly. Even when Dracula is descending on guests, there's a light behind him that, frankly, is not needed, and exposes the arm controlling him. Oh god, don't even get me started on the amount of strobe lights. Strobe lights are useful for disorienting or distracting guests from more quickly constructed sets. Hence their prevalence in Halloween Horror Nights. They straight up are not needed in this ride, save for an occasional flash once or twice. This is a ride, not HHN. The animatronics here took years to construct, while Halloween Horror Nights is swapped out yearly. All of this is to say that there's so many amazing details and sculptures and costuming and painting that went into this ride, and it's really unfortunate to kind of see it go to waste in a couple of scenes just because of poor lighting. Wait. Okay, listen. Hey, listen. Okay, listen. I know what I said, but despite the issues these animatronics are rifled with, I would truly not replace any of them, even if it would fix the maintenance issues. This ride is the best ride in the entire park because of the animatronics. This is absolutely biased, but what can I say? I'm the type of person who would happily wait 2 hours to see the Na'vi Priestess A1000 animatronic at the end of Na'vi River Journey. Sue me. I feel that I truly cannot express how many advanced animatronics are on this ride, except I can and I will. When I first did my research for this attraction, people online, the most reliable source, were saying that there were about 14 animatronics on the ride in total. They were wrong. I believe this was misinterpreted because Universal likely claimed 14 Universal monsters were made into animatronics versus 14 animatronics in total on the ride. So there are 14 monsters in this ride, but not 14 animatronics. Just to set the record straight, we have 24 to 25 animatronics in total, counting the pre-show, 3 in the pre-show, 17 audio animatronics, 9 if you don't count sound effects as audio, 8 single movement animatronics, 15 advanced animatronics, 1 facial protected animatronic, and obviously 15 monsters featured in this ride? Wait a minute, what? Bro, at this point, I don't know. I am so confused. I counted these myself. I have no idea why my numbers are still wrong. I think the reason why they're kind of off is because there are 4 brides. Maybe Universal counted 3. Maybe there are 3. I don't know. I'm really confused. Well, regardless of what the correct statistic is, I genuinely do love all these animatronics in this ride. If I had to list my top 3, it would probably be the pre-show monster, suspended Dracula, like from a specific scene, I'll just put it up, and then the mummy animatronic. But especially the mummy animatronic. I cannot imagine what a headache that was for like all the engineers in this ride. But man, am I glad that Universal Creative followed through. She looks great when she works. Even with my top 3 listed, picking a favorite animatronic out of all 25 of them is incredibly hard. I love the jump scare with the creature of the Black Lagoon. I love the expression on the animatronic Wolfman's face, and some of my favorite animatronics are the brides, even with their limited movement. Their costuming is gorgeous, and they have so much personality in just their appearances alone. All I can say is that I'm really grateful to have a ride where there are advanced animatronics on an incredibly large scale. Typically, theme parks would opt for simple animatronics to make it seem like there are a lot of them. But I'm really proud of Monsters for not doing this and keeping most of them highly advanced. Yes, I did say before that there were 8 single movement animatronics on this ride. Even with their lack of motion, their design, costuming, sculpts carry them to an upper level. In fact, sometimes they're given other effects like flashing lights or smoke to make them feel on par with their counterparts, and these extra effects work. Truly, Universal Creative deserves all the praise they are getting for Epic Universe, Darkmoor, and Monsters Unchained because of the clear effort and care they put into all these animatronics. All 25 of them look equally great, and as I said before, I'm incredibly happy they even exist in the first place. I hope you enjoyed my video. I tried really hard to find what the best aspects of this ride are, and where it can maybe just like a teensy weensy like little bit improve. Obviously, despite some of the minor cons this ride has, it is truly unique, and I'm very inspired by the engineers, architects, writers, and set designers behind this ride. Without people like them, theme parks would not exist in the first place. So tell me, what do you think? What are some of your favorite parts of this ride? Is there anything that I said that pissed you off? If you liked the video, please consider liking and subscribing for more content. If you don't,